Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Battle Inside podcast. I am Chris America and this is episode number 3. It is Tuesday, April 16th. I last did an episode yesterday, April 15th. It dropped today. Probably drop this one tomorrow on April 17th. But as I'm recording this episode, it is Tuesday, April the 16th, and I made mention at the beginning of this podcast that this was going to be something to chronicle and journal and join me on a journey of my struggles with mental illness and everything else. That this was going to be, I was going to try to be as candid and open and honest and raw and everything else that I can be. And so I don't know when I'm going to record, when I'm not going to record, how long I'm going to do between recordings. And I had to record today because today was not a good day for me. And without getting into details, I'll just say a series of events led me into one of the biggest lies I tell myself, one of the biggest lies I hold on to during times like this. And honestly, even through good times, I hold on to this. And that is the lie of worthlessness. This one's hard for me to talk about, but it's where I'm at today, and I figured I might as well get it out there and be as raw and honest and just open this wound for me and for those listening. I still get a lot of support, especially after today's episode. It went like gangbusters. Still getting a lot of awesome messages and just awesome support. So I really appreciate everybody listening. If you're having trouble finding the episodes, you're noticing that it's on scoutteamradio.com or the Scout Team Radio iTunes channel or Apple Podcast channel, and it's mixed in with our morning show. We have a morning show every weekday from 6 to 7. No, that's not a plug. It's just you got to look through it. I'm going to start labeling them TBI. So you can listen to the other show too. I'm actually very energetic, very fun. It's a fun show. I love doing the show. We got back into doing it this week. It's helped me a lot. It's a sports show, so if you like sports, give it a listen. Hopefully it cheers you up like it cheers me up, because I don't sound like this. I have a very much of a show must go on mentality. I'm able to fake it for an hour when I'm not feeling good. And honestly, I don't know if I'm faking it. It's actually very, very fun. It gets my mind off of what's going on. It gets my mind off of all of this. So sorry that there's a little bit of confusion with the episodes because it's mixed in with the Scout Team Radio sports show episodes. And so you just got to look for TBI if that's all you want to listen to. Just look for TBI and it'll say episode 1, episode 2. I think the first episode I didn't put TBI. I'll do TBI from now on. Episode 3. The other episodes are not labeled. They're usually something silly like hashtag Tiger Woods, y'all, or hashtag Kardashians are the best, or something silly. Like I said, it's a fun show. It's not all about. I mean, it's 95% about sports, but we have fun with it. But anyway, so back to the show. To this show, you've obviously found it. I hope that you share it. I hope you can learn from it. And now I'm going to just rip the Band-Aid and expose a wound that is so hard for me. On the show and in life, I appear like a very confident person. I am very good at being confident. I try to make myself confident because that's how you succeed in life. People like confident people. People love people with confidence. And I'm a Leo, so I have a lot of those tendencies to have confidence. But deep down inside, and especially in times like now, I have a big, giant lie just waiting there to tell me all the time that I am worthless. And it keeps me from doing things. It honestly, it kept me from doing a ton of things in life. Because when you tell yourself you're worthless, you also tell yourself you're going to fail at a lot of things. So, and I know where the worthlessness stems from. It stems from a lot of failed relationships and just me just beating myself up. So I wrote down I wrote down some of the lies of worthlessness that I have, and that I've been going through all day today. And I'm going to read them out to you. And I know these are lies, so I know it, but they're still there. And even though you tell yourself it's a lie, sometimes your emotions don't feel it. Sometimes your heart doesn't believe it because they feel real. They feel so very real, and they're hard to fight. Worthlessness is one of the hardest things to fight because it takes more than just. It's hard to find self-love, and it's hard to balance self-love with confidence and not getting too cocky or not being arrogant. But here are some of the lies that I will tell you that I believe right now, or that even if I don't believe them, they're still there. I wrote down a bunch of them. There's probably more. I just couldn't think of them. But lie number one, they're not in any particular order. Lie number one, no one will ever be with you long term. Lie number two, you're not wealthy, so you have no value. Lie number three, you do not have a status job, meaning you're not a lawyer, you're not a doctor, you're not an engineer. You do a stupid sports podcast that is going nowhere, and you think that that's actually going to be a goal. And that comes to lie number four. You see that? You see how I did that? Lie number four comes out. You will never achieve any major goal. That's a big one for me. I am a creative person. I'm a person who dreams big. But because I believe in that lie, I don't put myself out there a lot. Or if I don't get the success that I think I should be having, I scale back and I try to not fail. That's a lie. Lie number five. People only want what they need from you. They don't want you. And once that need is gone, once they're done with whatever it is that they need from you, Chris, they're done with you. Lie number six. You will always fall short. And that's another big lie for me. That's another big lie for me to overcome. That's almost a daily battle for me, is that I will always fall short. Lie number seven. You have no drive. Sorry, I got quiet on that one because that one is one that I know is directly related to my mental illness of depression and all the other the other lies. They all tie in. They start tying into each other. They seem similar and they all tie in together. Lie number 8, you can't help anyone else because you can't help yourself. This has been a lie that I've been telling myself since I've released this podcast. I feel like because I can't help myself, I can't help anyone here, that I can't help the person listening. And I've been forcing myself to continue doing this podcast, to continue leaving it open, to continue sharing this podcast so I could fight this lie. I feel like I've become a little bit annoying to some of my friends and some of my Twitter followers, but I need to do this so that I can overcome this lie. Lie number 9. You broke the alcohol cycle, which I'm going to talk about today. You broke the alcohol cycle of your family and your dad, but you did not break the broken family cycle. And I've mentioned that several times on the show. My parents got divorced, and again, I'll talk about that here on this episode. My parents got divorced, so I never wanted that for my son, and it's happened once before, and I've had 2 relationships that he got really close with the other person, and I've done it now twice before. And so that's the other lie, that you failed your son. And I know it's a lie, but I feel it right now. Number 10. This ties into that other one. You suck at relationships, and your best will never be good enough for anyone. That is, I'm sure, a lie that all of us tell ourselves. And it's going to be one that I'm going to have to overcome and have to self-evaluate, and one day I'll get there. Lie number 11. You will never overcome your depression. That one is hard too because I just feel like it's always going to be there, and maybe it will, and maybe this will be a fight that I have to do for the rest of my life, and that depresses me. And I feel like eventually I'll get stronger and then I'll just crash again, and I don't really want that life, but I guess it's the life I'm dealt with. Line number 12 is the last one I wrote down. There's plenty more, and I just kind of just jotted them down really fast. No one will ever fight to be with you or keep you. You're not worth the effort. That's line number 12. Like I said, there's plenty more lies I'm sure I could go over. Those are just the ones that I was just jotting down. This is what's been going on with me most of the day. Most of the day, I've been feeling extremely worthless, and I promised you guys I would never go into details about what my current situation is, and I don't want to go into details about other people and other relationships that I've had in the past. But I'm going to go over the relationship with my dad. My dad was the first person to ever make me feel worthless, and I get to go over that because, one, he's dead, so he's not going to listen to this, and two, even if he was alive, he still wouldn't listen to this. And that sounds callous. That sounds horrible. And we're going to work on my relationship with my dad in my therapy sessions. But pretty much every single feeling I have about my dad is pretty much every single feeling I have about a lot of my relationships that have failed. And so I get to talk about his relationship and how it affected me and why that was the very first one. That was the very first relationship to send me on this lifelong journey of feeling worthless. So, my mom and dad were together. I don't know how long they were together. I guess 15 years. They had me when they were 2 years married, and they got divorced when I was 13. My childhood wasn't bad. I didn't get beat. I didn't grow up in a poor household. It was like bottom middle class. And my parents both worked hard. And my dad was an alcoholic. And he was sort of just a kept to himself alcoholic. I never had a relationship with my dad. I have no memories of him throwing a football with me. As much as I love sports, I have no memory of him, playing catch, teaching me how to throw a baseball, teaching me how to fix a car, teaching me how to do this. I never watched sports with my dad. This is what my dad did. He went to work. He came home, went to the garage, sat on his workbench, watched TV, and drank beer. He'd cook the meat. My mom would cook the veggies and sides. We'd eat dinner together. No idea what the conversations were about at the dinner table. We did always eat at a dinner table. And then my dad would go back to his garage, and he would drink. And I would play video games. I would go outside and play with my neighbors. I actually, this sounds bad. I loved football so much that I actually threw the football to myself. My brother's 6 years older than me. He's a half brother, and he's always back and forth between our place and his mom's place. And my sister is 4 years older than me and not interested in playing with her little brother. So there was a lot of times where I threw the football by myself. I played basketball by myself. And my dad, throughout my entire childhood, as my parents were married, just wasn't there. I mean, he was there, but he wasn't there. All of my memories are of him drinking in the garage, and every once in a while we'd go to a place called Jack's Place. It's a bar here locally. It's a hole in the wall. I grew up in a hole in the wall bar. He'd always take me there, and he would drink, and there'd be a couple of his buddies, and I'd play pool, and I'd play on the video games while my dad drank, and then we'd go home. Like that was family time with me and my dad. Is me playing pool, and actually one time we went with my Uncle Mark, and we had like $1,000 bet on a pool game, and I'm pretty sure he lost on purpose, but never saw that $1,000. So those are my childhood memories of my dad, is just him not caring. And at the time, I guess it just didn't really hit me what I was missing. You can't miss what you don't know. And so, leading up to when I was 13, that's when my mom finally had enough of his alcoholism and everything else and needed to get a divorce. She sought family counseling, and it just wasn't a good situation for us. And she made the right call to finally get a divorce from him. And part of me is kind of glad because I don't know how I would have been as a teenager with my dad around. I don't know what that childhood or that teenage time would have looked like. I just don't know. It's odd to think about because it happened right when I was 13. So my parents get divorced, and it's a every other weekend agreement, which was pretty typical back then. And I don't remember how many times I went, but I remember it was the same thing. I'd go over there. He was told not to drink. Like, that was one of the judge's orders, not to drink. And I never saw him drinking, but there's no doubt in my mind he probably was. He was sneaking beers, or while I was outside playing is probably when he would drink, or maybe pour it in a cup to where I didn't know. And it was just like any other time. We didn't go out and do nothing. He didn't take me anywhere. He didn't buy me anything. He sat in his little apartment, and I went out inside and played with kids or just kind of hung out by myself. And after a little while, my dad called my mom and said, "Hey, I don't think Chris is having fun here, so you should just keep him." And at the time, I thought that was a good idea because I was bored over there. My dad didn't do anything with me, and I'm just a kid. Actually, when my parents got divorced on August 14th, my birthday is August 16th. Put that on your calendars. Send me a birthday card. Um, Sorry, that's the Leo in me coming out. Um, when I went over to his house on my birthday, the first weekend, he gave me a birthday card and he said, "How old are you again?" And I'm like, 13, Dad. And so I don't remember how long it was before he finally said, "Look, I don't think Chris wants to be here anymore." And really, it's just he didn't want me there anymore. He couldn't drink while I was there. He had to sneak his drinking, and I was just in the way. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so I'm pretty sure it was within the first couple of months, maybe 3 months, and I didn't see my dad for 3 years. I went through 13, 14, 15, and 16 without seeing my dad. And the reason why I saw my dad when I was 16 is because I finally had a driver's license and a car, and I would drive over to see him. I tried to make that relationship work. I wanted a relationship with my dad. I needed that relationship with my dad because now I'm trying to figure out how to be a man. I had to figure out how to shave on my own, had to figure out how to do different things on my own. I basically became the man of the house at my mom's house because it was by the time they got divorced, it was really just me and her. My sister was 17. My brother was, let's see, he's like 19, 20. So it was really just her and I. My sister moved out really young. Not really sure when that happened. Maybe it was when she was 18. I don't know. Um, but back to my dad. I wanted a relationship with my dad. I wanted my dad to be a part of my life. Like I said, I was 16. I think I was a sophomore or junior. I can't remember. But I'd done wrestling. I'd done cross country. I was in Boy Scouts. I had my mom there. My mom was the treasurer in scouting. My mom was at every single wrestling meet for the entire weekend. My mom was at my cross country meets. My mom was at my freshman football games the year that I played but really didn't play, just sat on the bench the whole year because I'm a small white kid. My mom was, she was at everything. And my dad, non existent. No phone calls. I'm trying to remember if he sent birthday cards. I feel like that was the thing, but I don't know. Like that's how little I had contact with my dad is because I don't even know if he did the things that you're supposed to do, like send a birthday card. Maybe he did. Maybe I'll give him credit for that. But no phone calls, no how you doings, no nothing. He was a ghost. And so when I was 16, I decided I'm going to be the bigger man and I'm going to be the one to reach out and I'm going to go visit him. And I'd go visit him, and he was glad to see me. He talked to me. I mean, we talked. He's a guy that likes to talk. He likes to talk about nonsense, NASA space shuttle launches, I-4 construction plans. Like, I developed a good way of nodding and smiling because of my dad. But that was the extent of the relationship. And I would tell him, hey, I got a cross-country meet, or I got this, and I got that. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can't make it. I got stuff I need to get done around. I'm just busy around here. I did find out later through working for the sheriff's office that he had a DUI around that time, and he couldn't drive. But he still made no effort to go to any of my stuff. And so I went through my teenage years without really a dad. I did go to a youth group church. I did have a few men who did mentor me, and they were there for me, but it's just not the same. It's just not. I developed a worry for my mom. I always try to take care of her. I didn't go to prom because it was expensive, and I didn't want to burden her with it. She already did enough for me. I tried to do as much as I could around the house. I didn't know how to fix anything. I didn't know how to do anything with the cars. I wasn't taught any of that stuff. My dad was an electrician, and he was good at fixing cars, and he was good at, like, he built a whole deck for our house. He worked at John Deere for irrigation systems. He put in a full-on timing irrigation system, and every time I tried to help, he's like, no, just get out of the way. You're just going to be in the way. I don't want to show you anything. And so I never got taught those things. And add that to another list of my worthlessness is I'm a man that can't fix crap. I'm a man who looks at a car engine and says, I can't help you. And that makes me feel pretty worthless. But, it's my fault. I can go teach myself, but maybe I should. That's another podcast for another day. So I would still make occasional trips from 16 on to my dad's house, and they started off like maybe 2 or 3 times a month. I'd go see him just because I wanted to have that relationship with him. I wanted to try everything I could to make it work. I was hoping and praying that one day he would decide that being an alcoholic wasn't worth it, and that having a relationship with his son was. You see all the time in the movies and the TV shows where the dad finally comes to the son and says, I'm really sorry that I messed things up, and I really, really missed a lot of time with you, and I am sorry, but I want to have a relationship with you now, and please give me another chance. Sorry, I told you this was going to get wrong. And so I waited for that. And 16 turned to 17, and 17 turned to 18, and 18 turned to 19, and that's when I went into the Coast Guard and went away for a while, came back, and I just started still trying to visit him, still waiting for him to say, son, I'm sorry I messed up. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. And then finally I just gave up on him. I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't fight for a relationship that's never going to go the way that I want it to go. And people would tell me, Chris, it's not you. It's him. It's his alcoholism. And I know. But it didn't matter to me. Because, damn it, I'm your son. I'm sorry. And you're supposed to love your son. And the love for your son is supposed to overcome everything. And he used to always tell me, too, when I was an adult, that my mom kept me from him. And that it was my mom's fault that he couldn't see me. And I didn't care. Number one, I didn't buy it. Number two, even if it was true, you don't stop fighting. You do whatever you can. I told my ex this, Little America's mom this, and luckily we have a good relationship enough to where it's, um, you know, good for my son. We both respect each other's relationship with our son, and we know it's our son, and I'm his dad, and she's his mom, and it works like that. But she knows, and I'm sure she would feel the same way. Is that I'm not gonna lose Landon without a fight. I'm not gonna lose Little America without a fight. If she tried to keep me from him, I would spend every single last penny I had, go into bankruptcy, do whatever I could to see my son. And my dad didn't do that. And so slowly to slowly I just started killing him off in my heart. And I tried to stop caring. As you can see, I'm not doing a good job of it. But slowly I would God, this is so hard. Slowly I would just push him away and just tell myself that if he doesn't care about you, you have to stop caring about him. And so I just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it to where finally I could sound like I sounded like at the beginning of the episode when I talked about him, when I talked about him with confidence and disdain and just aloofness. And now that I've opened up and started talking about this, I'm here. So clearly I haven't dealt with it yet. Um so then I had my son at 25, and I'd bring him over and you know, occasionally, but he would still never call, never ask to see his grandson, never asked how his grandson was doing, and that just made me hate him more. Because here I have the best kid in the world, and his grandfather doesn't want to see him. And so, I decided I had to keep Landon away from him. And my son had no idea who his grandfather was. I never talked about him. He never really asked about him. He just always knew there was just grandma, and then he had his grandma and grandpa from his other side, and that was it. I would always still kind of visit my dad up until maybe, I don't know, 30. I'm 35 now, by the way, and then I just stopped seeing him. I stopped calling. I stopped going over there. I just stopped. And that was pretty much it. I think I had two conversations with him where I called him on his birthday, and I think he called me once on my birthday. And then hold on one second. Sorry, had to clear up some snot. Um and he called me on my birthday, and then there was probably like maybe a 2 year period until 2015. My uncle calls me. It's November, and he says your dad's in the hospital. He's been homeless. Um, he was homeless because he got laid off or fired. Nobody really understood what happened to him, but he lost his job like 5 years prior. He told me it was because he was old and then they forced him out. Never got the real reason why he lost his job at John Deere. And eventually, I guess his money ran out. I don't know. I don't know what happened to his retirement. Um, I didn't even know he was homeless at the time, but apparently he was in a tent, and apparently my aunt had been down a few months before and had taken him to the hospital a few times, and they would just say he was just sickly and he was just homeless and needed just malnourished, and so they let him go. And then finally in November, my uncle calls and says your dad's in the hospital, and he has terminal cancer. He has a brain tumor, and So I went to go see him. And there he was. He looked really bad. He had long hair. He was really skinny. Um, and about a month later, he was in hospice. About not a month later, but like 2 weeks later, he was in hospice. And there was one night I was there by myself, and he was awake, and I finally just said it. And it's something I'd never said to my dad in a long time. And if you ask me the one time I've ever heard my dad say I love you, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if he ever said it when I was a kid because I don't remember. But I said I love you, Dad, and it was just a okay. And my sister-in-law likes to tell me that I can't take that into anything because he was sick and he was on medications and everything else, and maybe not, but the underlying issue is that he passed away, and when he died, I wasn't sad like I was supposed to be sad that my dad died. Usually you're supposed to be sad that your dad died because you lost your best friend, because you lost the man who raised you, because you lost your man that was always there for you. I was sad because that moment of clarity never came. The apology never came. And the I love you never came. And that's the first relationship that makes me feel worthless. Because of all of those reasons. Because I wasn't worth fighting for. And I wasn't worth giving up alcohol for. And I wasn't worth trying to have a relationship for. I skipped over one thing. My dad went to one thing of mine when I was in high school, and it's because I made a big deal about him going, and that's when I got my Eagle patch, or my Eagle badge in Scouts. I worked really hard for that, and I really wanted him to be there, and when he was finally there, he was just super nervous about sitting next to my mom, and he was worried about my mom. They had been divorced for 5 years, and he was still upset about him and my mom, and that was all he was worried about, and he didn't give a damn about me or my award or what I had achieved or what I had accomplished. And so when my relationships fail, I think about that. Like, if your own dad can't love you, if your own dad can't love you and fight for you and be there for you and support you and raise you and tell you it's going to be okay and tell you you're going to be successful and tell you you can do anything in life and tell you you can do whatever you want, or I'm here for you and I love you, then how can you expect anyone else to? And that is a lie, and I know it. That is a lie that I tell myself all the time. And that's what I need to work on with my therapist, and that's what I need to work on with myself. I need to finally at least heal that wound, and maybe I can heal all the other wounds of all my other previous failed relationships. And I know that this is something that having self-worth is not something you can get from other people. It's something you have to get from yourself. And I know that. And I'm trying to build my self-worth right now. That's why I'm trying to do this podcast, so I can know that I'm doing something for other people and that I'm going to be doing something successful. And I don't know. Like I said, like, one of my lies is I don't have drive and everything. Like, I need to have drive with this podcast and my other podcast and getting better and getting myself right. I need to have drive so that way I can be a better man. And I'm going to do it. I will do it. I have to do it. I have to be a better person. I have to be healed. I have carried that now for 35 years. That's how long I've carried it. And like you said, or like I said, you heard it, you felt it. That's that's something I haven't felt from my dad in a really long time, and that's something I haven't felt about my dad in a really long time. I make jokes about my dad being dead. Like that's how much I can't stand my dad. Um, and sorry if this is morbid, but when I was hanging out with my brother and sister-in-law this weekend, we were talking about how on Facebook there's these photos of kids taking pictures in a pose, like from like 1985, and then they take pictures as adults in that same pose. And we first joked about the three of us having having a picture together, like me, my brother, and my sister. And then I joked that hey, there's a there's a picture of me in my dad's lap as a baby. Maybe I should go to his gravesite and lay down and we could take a picture like that. Like that is it sounds morbid. I have a dark sense of humor sometimes and that's my normal I've hidden it away. I've locked up the doors. I've buried it deep. I've poured cement on it. That's the normal feeling that I have towards my dad because I just got to a point where you hurt me so bad that I don't care. And clearly being mad at my dad and hating my dad and using that F you, go F yourself attitude has not healed the wounds. And my brother and my sister were able to forgive him and grieve him. They both knew that he had alcoholism and they know what that's all about. And for me, I just I know they were in the right. I know they had the healthy relationship with that or the healthy closure to that, and I just I don't have it, and I still don't have it, and I need to work on getting that um, because look at me, it's not healthy, it's not right, and it adds to my worthlessness. It adds to my feeling of being worthless. So, um, I'm glad I got to talk to this with you guys. I'm glad I recorded this episode because I do feel a lot better. Um, a lot of people are worried about me right now, and I'm very thankful. This is one of my biggest fears and my hesitations is that I do episodes like this or episodes like episode 1 and people start to worry about me and I hate people worrying about me and I hate people thinking I'm doing this for attention and everything else. So but I bit the bullet today and I said, "No, you got to record this because this is going to help you and this is going to help other people who deal with worthlessness because worthlessness is probably more prevalent than people want to admit." I wrote down 12 lies. I'm sure a good majority of you can relate to most or all of those lies, and you can add more lies to the list of how you feel about yourself, and I could add more lies to the list about myself. So, what I'm trying to start doing is change my thought process, which is way easier said than done. And I want to change my thought process now on the show. And hopefully it helps. Hopefully it helps me. Hopefully it helps you. Um, and maybe I'll just go through the lies and try to turn them into truths. So, lie number 1, no one will ever be with you long term. You have your mom, you have a lot of good friends that have been there for you, and you just haven't really met the right person yet. Or maybe you have met the right person yet, and they're just not in the place where you need them to be with you. And maybe you're not in the place that you need to be with them. Number 2, you're not wealthy, so you have no value. That's sort of a lie that I don't really buy into until somebody tells that to me, until somebody makes me feel that way. But that's a lie that's easier to get over because I know that chasing money, I mean, you've heard every single celebrity, every single wealthy person, like you see rich people all the time with bad marriages, bad relationships, bad lives. Like money doesn't solve anything. So I'm never going to have value. You do not have a status job, but I have a good job, and I'm good at my job, and I excel at it, and a lot of people would love to have my job. You will never achieve any major goals. I am going to achieve a major goal. This podcast and the Scout Team Radio podcast will be a thing. I will make it a thing. It will become something that I can do full time. It will become something that I do as a job, as a career. And Chris, this is going to be huge. This podcast, your other podcast, you are going to achieve that goal. And you are going to help a lot of people, and you're going to entertain a lot of people. Now I sound crazy because I'm talking to myself. Sorry, I don't mean to use the word crazy. People only want what they need from you. They don't want you. I don't think I'm ready to come to a truth there yet. I'm going to work on that one. Because I'm such a giving person, and I do give a lot. If you need anything from me, I will give it to you. And if I love you, then it's that 100 times fold. Like, I don't hesitate. I try to give. And there's just too many times where people got what they needed from me and then bounced. And so that one's going to be one I'm going to have to work on. I'm sorry, I don't have a truth there yet. You will always fall short. You will always fall short, Chris, from time to time, but everybody fails. Everybody fails. And you just need to continue to build yourself back up, get your knees dusted off. I know it sucks having to do it over and over again, but failures is what you build on, and it's not the end. You have no drive. Well, that is absolute BS. You know that's BS because right now you've powered through 3 podcasts. You've gone to several different meetings with therapists and psychiatrists. You've gone and you've been a good son. You've completed marathons. You've completed 31-mile relay races, or you ran 31 miles in a relay race. You've ran 25 miles in a relay race. You've done a half marathon in under 2 hours without training. You've raised a great son. You've done a lot of good things in life. You have drive. You can't help anyone. You can't help anyone else because you can't help yourself. Well, I can already tell you that that's a BS lie right there. Because I have people messaging me every single day telling me how I've helped them, and even though I'm not done yet, I'm nowhere close. Look at me. I'm a mess on the radio crying and sniveling. I'm still helping people. Number 9. You broke the alcohol cycle, but you didn't break the broken family cycle. The truth there is going to be a little bit harder for me to come up with, but I broke the most important cycle, and that's the dad not there for you cycle and the mom not there for you cycle. My son has a mom and a dad, and even though they're not together, they still love him, and that's all he needs. You suck at relationships, and your best will never be good enough for anyone. I don't know that I have a truth there yet. That one's going to take some time too. I feel like I'm good enough. I feel like I'm a really great guy. I feel like I have a lot to offer somebody. I love with all of my heart. I always take care of the person I'm with. I always try to think of ways to take care of that person. I always try to show ways to support that person and be there for them and love them and hug them and just be the type of person that any woman would want to be with. And those are the truths, but I don't believe them. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. No one will fight to be with you or keep you. You're not worth the effort. That one kind of goes with the other one. And it goes back to my dad. And I talked about that too. The problem is it's hard to believe. It's hard not to believe these lies when I don't have anything to fall back on. Or sadly, and this is something that I need to do with like counting your blessings and everything, I don't have the person that I want to do it, like my dad. Like, it's good that you'll fight for me, Mom, and I'm sorry. I know that's hard for her to hear, and she knows it. She knows I love her to death. She knows I love and appreciate everything she's done for me. But even though she did everything she could in her power to show me love and everything, it just wasn't my dad. And we already talked about that. So no need to go there. So that one is going to be another hard lie for me to fight. Is no one will fight to be with you or keep you. You're not worth the effort. And then the final lie, you will never overcome your depression. I am going to overcome my depression. I'm not going to completely get rid of it. I think this is a lifelong curse for me, or a lifelong blessing. Could be that blessing that I need, a curse that I need to turn into a blessing. And maybe I should see it that way. Maybe I had to have this because I'm the right person to do this podcast. I'm the right person to relate to people the way that I'm able to relate to people, to say the things that I'm able to say, to communicate the way that I'm able to communicate, and the courage and the drive to open myself up publicly and do what I'm doing. A lot of people today messaged me that I'm being brave, I'm courageous, you're doing great. And when I'm in my moment of worthlessness, it's like, yeah, it's cool that you believe that, but my dad didn't believe that, and this person didn't believe that, and that person didn't believe that. So I believe them, I don't believe you. And it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. But I'm going to get over this. I am going to fight like hell to turn this curse into a blessing. I'm going to fight like hell to get healed, and I'm going to fight like hell to become a better man. And again, I want you to do it with me. A couple of messages that I got today, and this one really helped me because it spoke directly to what I was thinking about. And it's starting to get weird that people are messaging me things that I need to hear, and maybe it's God. I hope it's God. I'm trying not to get into religion on this podcast because I want this for everybody to figure out how to deal with it. And anyways, hi, Chris. You are not alone. While I don't have suicidal thoughts, and by no means do I think I am better than you or anyone else. I understand what it feels like to have mental issues. I am fighting these issues today, and I don't know how this will ever go away. There will always be that one person or persons who will put you down or make other remarks to make you feel like you're worthless. You have to ignore them. I have other issues physically that I feel as you do to want to educate and help other people if I can. I'm glad someone from Scout Team Radio tweeted about your podcast. You can always reach out to me if you need to. And we had a good conversation after that. But it was just funny how I'm having a whole day of feeling worthless, and a random stranger sends me a message on Twitter, which again, that's at the Chris Scout Team, or sorry, at the Chris America, or you can message me on the podcast, which is hold on, I forgot what it was. At stupid thing, load up. At Battle Inside Pod, one word, at Battle Inside Pod. Message me there. Please share these episodes because I do want to make this big. I do want to make this huge, and yeah, I feel a lot better after this episode. I told you I was going to use this podcast to be therapeutic for me, and I gotta say, coming into the episode, I felt like total dog s. And if you notice, I'm trying not to curse because again, I'm trying to make sure everybody feels welcomed and doesn't feel like they have to turn me off. So that's why I try to not curse. If I do, sometimes I apologize if you don't like it. If you do like it, you know, sometimes we got to edit ourselves for other people. I get it. And then my brother sent me something else. He listened to my last episode of the podcast, and I had mentioned that I felt like when I was suicidal, I felt like a glass bowl that had broken in the kitchen. And you're so broken that you can't be fixed, and you're nothing but a bunch of glass shards, so it's dangerous for people to be around, so stay away. And so that's what I had mentioned in my previous podcast, episode 2. Please check it out if you haven't yet. TBI, episode 2. It's called The Stigma. He sent me this. He said, in Japan, they take a broken bowl or glass and put it back together using gold for seams, or for the seams. It is actually more sought after because it's considered more beautiful. And I messaged back, I can't wait to be put back together. And I can't. And I know that I'm going to be. And I feel a million times more optimistic than I did before I started this episode. So, without further ado, I do want to say a few things. If you are feeling suicidal, reach out to somebody. Please get help. That was one of the things that my sister-in-law wanted me to clarify on some things with the whole Baker Act thing. I had mentioned that if you go and you just say to a counselor or something that you want to kill yourself, that they'll Baker Act you. She wanted me to make sure that that's not entirely true. You can they assess the situation. They ask you more questions. They will evaluate you and help you out. Maybe it's just you're just feeling like you want to die right now and you're not actually going to go through with it. So please don't let me or that fear of not being able to, or don't let that fear of being Baker acted keep you from getting help. That was the one thing she wanted me to mention. But now I want to give out. If you're feeling suicidal right now, please, 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 for me, for you, for your family, please go get help. Please reach out to a friend, a relative, or you can reach out to the suicide hotline. I'm going to pull that up right now. You can call 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255, or you can go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Again, that's suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Or you can go to, pulling it up now. Sorry, I should be more prepared. Where did it go? Okay, you can go to crisistextline.org. Again, that's crisistextline.org. A buddy of mine, or not a buddy, but we follow each other now. He has his own podcast called The Depression Files. You can follow him if you're on Twitter at ALLEVIN18. That's Al Levin. He has his own podcast. He says that if you want to reach out to him, you can. If you want to reach out to me, you can. I don't have any good advice. I'm not an expert. I should have mentioned that again at the beginning of the episode. I need to write that down. Make sure you mention that you're not an expert. You do not know what you're talking about. This is a show about all of your perspectives and what you're going through and how you're dealing with your own mental health. So please don't look to me for advice. Like I gave bad advice on the Baker Act thing. I'm only giving what my perspective is. I'm not an expert, so take some of what I say with a grain of salt. Research things. Challenge me. But get help. Please get help. Like I said, if you message me, I can listen to you. And sometimes that's all you need. I told my friend that, like, right now I just need you to listen to me. And I will see you guys on the next episode. You're worth it. I'm worth it. And together I think we can find our own self-value. And I think we will find our own self-value. One big lie is that we're worthless. It's a lie that we all tell ourselves, and it's a really crappy lie. Somewhere in all of us, there is a person of value. I don't know you, but I'm just going to tell you I believe in you. And that sounds cliche, but I do. Because I want somebody to believe in me. And I do believe in myself. I just need to get there, and I am. Thanks again, and have a great day or night, whatever you're doing. Peace.